Valley, hooey Hollywood. Where any
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of That Movie Show. Mike Wendt and Eddie McCabe taking into another week of movie talk. You can follow us on social media at Mike Wendt, at the Eddie McCabe, hashtag That Movie Show, and the website thatmovieshow.net for our archives of audio podcasts. And I believe we're adding, if by the time this airs, your new Disney series. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I started doing a, as a part of Evenings with Eddie. It is the Disney Princess film series. Last year, leading up to Endgame on the New Age Insiders, which is now defunct,
Yep.
I reviewed and wrote a blog post for all of the Marvel movies leading up to Avengers in release order. And so I decided, hey, I have time on my hands because of
As we all
quarantine,
do,
and I also have Disney Plus, so I'm going to watch all of the Disney princess films. So by the time this gets released, I'm pretty sure both Snow White and Cinderella will be up. They're the first two Disney princesses, and they are movies. It's funny because I
believe the 2020 term is they don't age well.
Yeah, it's not even necessarily that they don't age well. Is that you realize just how flat and two-dimensional, no pun intended, the characters are.
Right.
Like Snow White and Cinderella both are very, very flat, in terms of character, where they don't have a whole lot of bite to them. They're just really delightful people for even though they're in bad situations, they're really delightful people.
Right.
And their evil counterparts are evil for the sake of evil, and that's really it. They don't really have any personality aside from being so beautiful, and it's like, wow. When people criticize Disney princesses and they just have animal friends and they fall in love with the first guy that they see, and it's like, wow, these two really kind of pull into that. They're both fast watches, because you're talking about 75 minutes for Cinderella. I forget what Snow White clocks in at, but it's somewhere around there.
I remember being shocked. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago when they re-released Dumbo on Blu-ray.
Right.
And I picked it up. It's 68 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus, this was a feature film.
Yeah, right. This was a feature film back in the DZ. And
now you got Toy Story 4 that's 3.5 hours?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's crazy. The cool thing is that you watch Snow White and it's like, oh, this is the first animated feature film, so it's really impressive that you were able to do it. But it's the story is so thin. It's basically just a bunch of cartoon musical sequences, which is what they did prior to that they just kind of strung together.
Right.
As opposed to a film kind of like Frozen or Frozen 2, where it's there's a complex narrative. Yeah, Frozen 2, Electric Boogaloo, the quest for God ice powers or something.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting because I think that these first three, Snow White, Cinderella, and then Aurora from Sleeping Beauty, they are, I think, going to be very similar. And then we're going to kind of see where the evolution kind of goes from there. Because I don't remember much about Sleeping Beauty. I think I watched it once when I didn't own it because I was a boy. And so I didn't own it on VHS. And so I don't really remember a whole lot of it, but I do remember Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. And so watching Jasmine and Belle, I know that they have more.
They've evolved.
They've evolved at that point. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what that difference is going to be. And then
I would say that even back then, like you mentioned, Snow White was the first animated feature. I think people were just amazed that they were seeing cartoons syncing with audio. It's holy shit, we're sitting in a movie theater and the cartoon is talking and moving.
100%. That was kind of my biggest
stuff
disappointment.
we take for granted now when, we have stuff like Endgame.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we have Tony Stark getting a planet thrown at him.
Right.
It's
and it's actually Robert Downey Jr.'s face working. It's not like some cartoon, despite being a modern day cartoon, basically.
Yeah, basically. It's interesting because I was really disappointed, and you'll see, if you read the blog post or you see the video, you'll get more of my full feelings. But it was like I was disappointed in the jump from Snow White to Cinderella, and that they didn't really make a huge leap for the movie. Because
do you know offhand how many years apart they were?
So I forget what Snow White is, what year that was in, but 1950 is Cinderella, and it's their 16th movie. So
Disney's overall.
Yes. So in between those movies, Dumbo, Bambi, Fantasia, Pinocchio, all it happened. Okay. So they did all of those. And so it's like, okay, I wish
it was just the princess genre they seem to be having issues with, because now that you mentioned those movies, it's like, all right, well, those were good.
Yeah, right.
Like, those had stories to them. Maybe they just didn't know how to write women.
Yeah. I think that's ultimately what it boils down to, because, it's very interesting that it's like, you crushed Pinocchio.
Right.
You crushed Pinocchio, but then you couldn't figure out,
You didn't stick the landing with Cinderella. She's literally got the castle over your shoulder.
Yeah, well, and that's what that's
Pinocchio
exactly.
has a little shitty restaurant. She has the landmark.
Yeah, and I wonder what this actually, I wonder what the numbers are, but it's like, that's probably one of the most photographed things in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's always funny because I've read things that have said, and it's, again, if you go to Disney World, it's like one of the first things you do. You walk down Main Street and take a picture of the castle. It's just what you do. And to that, it's definitely one of the most photographed things. But I also heard something, it was years and years ago that I read this, that Disney technically owns the copyright to all your vacation photos, something like that. So like that picture over your shoulder, I'm assuming you took it.
Yeah, so I took that, and there's a real live one. If you go to my Instagram, or if you go to, you'll be able to see the not cartoon version. But I took that photo.
But in some, I don't know. I read it online, so take it with a grain of salt. That they technically own that photo and which, in some level, makes sense. But in the world of the internet, where if you take a photo, you own the photo. It was that thing when Ellen took the selfie at the Oscars with all those people. Technically. Right. Bradley Cooper owned it because he was holding her phone, type of thing. Like that was a whole other story. So it's always weird when stuff like that comes out. I'm like, first of all, who gives a shit?
Right. Well, that's like
this castle has been photographed 1 million times today.
Like when you go to a sporting event, right? You forfeit your right to, like, you've by entering the stadium, it's in the terms and conditions of purchasing your ticket, but if you enter the stadium, you've agreed that you're okay with showing up on TV. So, if CBS is broadcasting the football game at Gillette, sure. Then if you are one of the people that, they film, then you already agreed. You can't now go to CBS and be like, I didn't agree to be on camera. It's like, no, when you entered the stadium, you agreed to it. So I think it's something similar to that, where it's
we had that when Wicked Bites filmed the cruise. We actually had the cruise had poster boards posted all over the cruise ship, basically saying just that. If you enter this area, you're consenting to being on television.
Right.
It's a cover your ass method for us and for them. But to the flip side of that, if you take a picture or post a video of the game.
Right.
They still own that. I only know that because I've been to Bruins games and I've sitting there taking a video of it. It's on YouTube, and NHL owns the rights to it. I've gotten copyright hits from NHL because I literally showed Bobby Orr being presented an award at the Garden before a Bruins game, which the game wasn't going on, but they still claimed that.
Yeah,
and I disputed it, and they said, "Fuck you." I'm like, okay, buddy, I'm not fighting you.
Yeah, MLB is terrible about that because, the NBA, they love it, right? They want you, technically they own it. And so, if you have this awesome photo of LeBron James dunking a basketball, they technically own it and they can kind of do whatever they want with it. Sure. But they encourage you to post it, and that's been a big problem with Major League Baseball is they take down clips all the time.
NHL doesn't take the clip down.
Right.
They monetize it.
Yeah.
So they're monetizing my shitty videos on YouTube.
Yeah, of course they are.
Which is hilarious, but whatever. That's a whole different story from a whole different day. Okay, before we jump into Beverly Hills Cop, which is our movie of the day.
Yes.
There's two stories that we want to talk about. The first one is a bit sad.
Yeah.
It came out. Came out. What is it? What the hell is today? Thursday.
Yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday. That AMC Theaters released a statement saying they doubt they have substantial doubts that they will recover after the revenue drop due to the coronavirus.
Right.
AMC has been very vocal about how much this has been hurting them. We talked a couple weeks ago about them basically refusing to show Universal movies when they come back due to them doing a victory lap over the Trolls doing so well on streaming. And we discussed the pros and cons of that. I mean, okay, you're making a stand, AMC, but you're also losing the Fast and the Furious revenue.
Yeah, right.
And other stuff. We're not going to go back down that road. They said that basically they're the world's biggest movie theater chain, and they're estimating that the loss is between 2.1 and 2.4 billion dollars in the first quarter alone.
Yeah.
That's a shitload of yearly revenue if that's what they lost in the first quarter.
Yeah.
2.4 billion with a B.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy to think because the movie theaters are slated, I believe, for limited capacity to open in what here in Massachusetts is called Phase 3. I don't know what the rest of the world's calling it. But Phase 3 starts June 29th. And I don't know what the actual thing is. I think it's like 50% capacity or something like that. And there's a whole bunch of regulations and a whole bunch of other shit going on that they're going to have to follow, which makes some sense. It makes sense that they would have to do this. On the flip side, also came out today, which I'd like to get him on the show because we have our connections with Showcase Cinemas. One of their executives came out and was very positive. They're saying we will survive through this.
Right.
Of course, Showcase Cinemas, and this is something I did not know. Showcase Cinemas is owned. First of all, they have theaters in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, and Ohio.
Right.
They are owned by National Amusements, and I didn't know National Amusements also owns Viacom CBS.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, see, that I did know. It's because they're a huge entertainment conglomerate.
Yeah. So I mean, it sucks to hear. And anytime you hear that a business isn't going to make it, especially one literally AMC is the largest theater chain in the world. Right. Them not being able to make it sucks. I don't 100% believe it. I think some of it might just be a little bit of posturing with their anger and their aggravation with the shutdown and things not opening up as fast as they would like it to. And everybody has their own opinions of this. And trust me, I've been on the other show. I've been doing it for fucking 80 days. I'm like blue in the face over talking about it.
Right.
But I would honestly, I'd like to get at least somebody from Showcase on the show to tell their side of it. Because they've been doing things such as here, at least in Massachusetts, the Patriots Place location did a pop-up drive-in and sold out almost instantly. People want to go out. People want to go out and experience movies. There's a restaurant in New Hampshire called the Galley Hatch, and they made a makeshift drive-in movie theater in their parking lot. And the first movie they showed was Mamma Mia, and they have 50 tickets available, 50 car spots available. Right. And they had over 800 requests for tickets for Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
That, to me, that shows you people want to get out of the house. People are over 800 requests to go see Mamma Mia. This isn't Jaws, people.
Right. Yeah, I think that people, want to go out, right? But I think that people like going to the movies. I think that there are, for everybody that says, I can just watch it on my 4K TV, I think that some people like to have the option to go to the larger theaters, the IMAX, the X Plus, so the larger formatted screens, because there is something about that you just don't get at home, and
there's
it's
also just the escapism that's not, you're escaping by watching a movie. Yes. But there's the difference between watching it in your home and watching it in a theater. And I know just from my own personal the way I watch movies, and I love watching movies. I love being sucked into a movie. But if I'm at home, most of the time I'm doing some sort of this. At a movie theater, the phones go away and you're engulfed in this movie. And especially if the movie's good, it's like, it's so much better. That's why I was such a flag waver of Showcase's bringbacks, because it's like, there's movies that I absolutely love that I simply wasn't born when they were released.
Right.
And seeing something like Jaws on the big screen, seeing something like The Road Warrior on the big screen, seeing Ghostbusters on the big screen, even though I was alive for some of those releases, I was too young to go see a Road Warrior in the theater.
Yeah, right.
It's an amazing experience that you cannot recreate in your home. You just can't do it.
I think that's, got to be what the evolution is, because it's tough. Like, look, all of these movie theater chains, Showcase, Subscribe, AMC, A-List, they've come up with the idea, even Regal Cinemas, and I forget what theirs is called, but
they have one, yeah.
They have a subscription service where you can pay a monthly fee and go to X amount of movies a month, right?
And that's adapting with the time.
Right, and that's adapted with the time.
That's the same thing as having fully electronic reclining seats, having drinks served to your seats. They know that they're competing, and we did the Dedham showcase when they first started the Lux level. We actually featured them on Wicked Bites. It was probably like 6 years ago, and they knew then. It's like that was just their first wave of reclining seats and drink service. They're like, yeah, we get it. We're fighting with people's homes because not everybody thinks the way you and I do. Not everybody thinks that it's really cool to go see these movies. That's why these movies are only released for one day, not 3 months. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there is a limited audience that thinks that way, and they're trying to capture more of that audience by giving you more of the luxuries you do have at home while still being a movie theater.
I think that the next evolution after this, right? Because, like I said, everybody has their streaming service or their subscription service. And I think the next evolution in this is something that you kind of just mentioned, or as a little bit more of a blown out version, is the bring back programs so that, in prime time spots, you're showing classic movies that people are going to want to see, having, instead of, most of the bringbacks for Showcase are on a Wednesday or a Sunday.
Yep.
Right. And so while we'll make the effort to go and go see those movies because we like them, we like movies,
right.
The average person might not on a Friday or a Saturday night, but if you can dedicate a screen or two to some classic gems on a Friday, that'd be pretty cool. Like, oh, you know what I'm going to do on this Friday night? I'm going to go see Empire Strikes Back, like that I think that's the next evolution, because, let's be honest with quality of movies. It's a roller coaster. Sure. You know what I mean? Some, you have Oscar winning movies in November and December, and then all of a sudden January and February comes out and it's just crappy horror movies. You know what I mean? It's like it's funny. I went and I saw like, as I see as many movies as I possibly can, and there was just like nothing worth seeing before the world shut down. The one I saw that I would have recommended, and I actually did when I saw it, I immediately posted online that people should see it in theaters just because it was a cool experience, mostly because of the way they worked the sound, was The Invisible Man. Right.
Like I thought they did an excellent job, and by working the sound, I mean a lot of silence.
Right.
Like that movie worked in silence very, very well, and a very claustrophobic. It worked for the movie. Like it was really good. But on the flip side, I think what you saw Rambo: Last Blood, and what was the Vin Diesel one? Yeah,
I saw Bloodshot. I saw The Hunt. Like I saw it all. But it's just like, if I had the option, because I want to go to a movie, right? I have Showcase Subscribe. I have AMC A-List. I want to go see a movie because I've signed up for this service. And like part of it is that I'm, A-List is like 3 movies, it's like 3 movies a week or something. And Showcase Subscribe is 3 movies a month. And it's just like, I have to fill those. You know what I mean? Like, if I have that.
We said it many times when Showcase was sponsoring the show, that it's like there was movies that we were like, oh yeah, I wouldn't completely run out and see this movie, but you have Showcase Subscribe. What the hell?
Bloodshot.
Go see one great movie and you've paid for your monthly subscription. Now you got 2 others you can see if you're on the fence.
Right. That was exactly why I saw Bloodshot. The world is shutting down.
Right.
The only thing I can do is go see a movie. And
Right.
this is the only movie I haven't seen because I went and saw all of them.
Right.
You know, and like, but you know, having that ability where it's just like, well, now, you know, if I don't want to, I don't necessarily want to see Bloodshot, but I want to go see a movie. But the alternative is I can see Aliens.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, that'd be cool. I'd like to go
cool
see
idea. Having one of the smaller, because there are smaller theaters. Not everything is 500 seat IMAX theaters. There are
Yeah.
some that are like 150 seats. And yeah, if that one small theater, especially like on the weekends, was dedicated to like some kind of classic, like this is our classic movie theater,
Right.
it would be kind of cool. I think that's going to be something along those lines is going to have to be the business model for these theaters when they do start reopening, because everything's been moved. Every studio has moved their movies to at the earliest December. Most of them next year.
Right, and that's the reality of it, you know, because I've talked to like my parents about this, where it's like, yeah, if you're a movie theater and you get the okay to open next week, what movies are you going to show?
I mean,
you know, because
what is today? Today's June 4th.
Right.
Theoretically, if things go according to plan, they have 1, 2, 3. They'll be opening 3 weeks from last Monday. Basically.
Right. But the
in
question
some
still
capacity.
remains. Right. The question so like locally here, because they did get the green light to open, there's the Menden Twin Drive-In. They opened and they've been showing movies, right? It's a drive-in, you drive your car in, you're listening to the radio, it's a fun time. The thing is that their slate of movies are movies that were released on, in January or are already on video on demand. So like Onward and The Invisible Man, I can get through my on-demand service with my cable,
Right.
And so it's like, look, I've already seen them anyway, but
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna play and you're gonna have to play older movies, you probably want to dig a little deeper on your bench than pulling out Onward and The Invisible Man, because if anybody wanted to see them, they've already seen them.
Right.
That's not going to move numbers. You put something like Glengarry Glen Ross up on the screen, that's going to move some people. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird.
Yeah, well, that speech is great. But
Yeah.
the point is like, if Showcase Cinemas was to open tomorrow, I would do enough to staff my biggest theater, and I would just do a blockbuster movie. Yep. You know what I mean? Like I would do, I don't know the logistics of it because I don't actually work in that industry, but it's just like, yeah, what does it cost? Like, do I have the rights to do, Star Wars? Like, you know what I mean?
That's the other thing. And I kind of broached the subject a little bit on the Wicked Bite side of things, because a lot of restaurants are doing makeshift drive-ins. Kowloon got approved starting on Tuesday, the 9th. To Dr. Duff's is doing it. Kowloon is doing a car hop drive-in. Literally, they're putting up a big screen, and without getting these places in trouble, like I was like, how are they getting around?
Yeah,
like because I know that just briefly kind of Google searching, because you and I were thinking of doing the show live from bars. This show,
right?
And it's like, how would we incorporate a movie aspect of that thing? Do we, but if you show a movie and you collect money to see that movie,
right,
you have to not only get clearance from the studio to show that movie, you got to give them a cut of your money most of the time. Like they're just not going to give you it for free. So that was, and I think it's one of those things that they're playing it as, I'd rather apologize than ask permission type of thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like who's going to turn us in type of thing. In this day and age.
Right. The thing with restaurants is it's easier to skirt around those rules because, I just set this video up on the side here. You're not coming to, it's not like a drive-in where you're coming.
But I remember, again, going back to sports, the NHL gave the city of Boston permission to show the Stanley Cup, the live feed of the Bruins Stanley Cup back in 2011. I forget, it wasn't the last game, but it was one of the games at Boston City Hall. NBC shut it down. Okay. They didn't give permission because it was an NBC broadcast. So it's like there's layers of rights. You can't just pop up, and that was free. That they weren't collecting any money. They were just like, hey, come on out and have a nice, fun June night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. So
it's very weird when you're running movies to the public in a public setting, and especially if you're collecting tickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I just think there's an easy way to just say like, oh, I didn't collect tickets. Instead, like they came for the food, and this is just something I have going on.
That's an easier way. But there are places that are literally, tickets. So I don't know. Again, that's way outside my pay grade. So
of course,
that's on.
We just talk about the movies, not where they're shown.
At the moment, we don't have to worry about it because we can't go to the movies yet.
Yeah.
But what we can do is sit at home and watch movies on streaming services, and we got a new one this past week. On the 27th, Jesus, it's been almost a full week now that we've had this. It actually has. May 27th, HBO Max premiered. It launched, or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Sure.
And
debuted.
Yeah. So, and I got it, and there's pros and cons. And one of the reasons I got it, I'm a little upset that I got it, type of thing.
Okay.
So I got it because they were offering. I used to have HBO Now, and then I decided, all right, I'm going to save the $14 a month and cancel it during this quarantine. Money's tighter, you cut back on luxury type of thing. So I dumped HBO. They came back like a couple weeks before HBO Max was going to launch with the email saying, oh, get it for a discounted price and all that stuff. And I'm like, maybe. And then we did Sucker Punch, and the easiest way to stream it is on HBO. So I'm like, all right, screw it. I was probably going to bite the bullet anyway. Might as well do it. So I got Sucker Punch. It was still HBO Now at the time. So fine. Now, all the while, I was reading and seeing and being told by HBO that when May 27th happens, your HBO Now apps will automatically update to HBO Max.
Yes. The Sons of Anarchy are back.
Jesus. And so I woke up on the 27th and had my cup of coffee, opened up my phone, looked, and sure enough, hit update on HBO Now, and it turned into HBO Max, as it was supposed to. The next step was I take my cup of coffee downstairs, I turn on my TV, I turn on my Roku, and nothing happens. And it's still HBO. And I'm like, and I go to the search, and I type in HBO Max, nothing. I go in and try to hit update. Your app is updated.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. So, of course, as we do nowadays, we go to Google. Just type in HBO Max and Roku, and you know where this is going because we're a week into this, and everybody who has a Roku knows where this is going.
Yes.
It's not fucking on it.
Yeah.
You can't get HBO Max on Roku or Amazon Fire Sticks because they haven't ironed out their contracts yet, which has to do with some kind of the way these things work is ad share revenues or this and that and product. I don't know all the details. Either way, to me, as a consumer that would like to watch these movies and TV shows on my television and not on my phone the way the directors intended, it's fucking annoying that you would launch such a major streaming service that's trying to compete with Disney Plus and Netflix and Hulu and all that shit, and it not be on two of the top streaming, I don't know, platforms, vehicles, whatever the fuck they're called. Yeah. But, like, that seems wildly irresponsible to me. And it pissed me off because it literally, the list of compatible devices, at least for me, and I subscribed a week before the launch, it wasn't emailed to me until about a couple days, maybe a day or two before. Okay, they had already got their $11.99 out of my bank account, and then they told me that I wasn't going to be able to watch it on all of my devices. Now, maybe that information was already out there. Maybe I wasn't searching. Maybe, I was just assuming. And you know what happens when you assume?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that was my first, like, oh, well, that sucks. And I kind of got pissed off and didn't play with HBO Max for a couple days.
Yeah, right.
Then I did. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I was annoyed with the Roku. I have two Roku enabled smart TVs, so it was frustrating for that because you haven't figured that out. But, I got a nice phone. I got an iPad, make it work, but because technology, I can use one of the other devices to stream the thing to the other device and all sorts of nonsense. The thing that I found to be annoying was more of the, maybe it just hasn't happened yet, but like a lack of fulfilled promise in some areas, but really happy in others.
Okay.
One thing, there are two things like with Adult Swim and with the DC section of the app.
DC seemed very light when I went through it.
It's very light. Like I was under the assumption that everything was going to be there, and from on the actual DC shows, from like if I was to get the actual app, like the actual
DC has their own streaming service as well, and I thought the same thing. I figured
Right.
it was all just dumping over, but only one, right?
yeah, it's
Doom
not.
Patrol is the only one, right?
Yeah, so Doom Patrol's the only one, but like there was the Titans I wanted to watch, and that's not on there. There's a Harley Quinn animated show that is like R-rated
Yep.
that I wanted to watch, and then Batman the animated series, Superman the animated series, and Justice League Unlimited.
Yep.
You know, those cartoons, I wanted to watch them, and they're nowhere to be found. Same thing with Adult Swim. Adult Swim has some stuff. I was very excited to see Space Ghost Coast to Coast, but like Sea Lab 2021, which is my favorite of the Adult Swim shows. Now, again, I know that like Family Guy and Futurama aren't going to be on there, which are, you know, high level aspect, like they're heavy
They're
hitters.
over on Hulu because of Disney.
Right, they're on Hulu, so I understand that. But yeah, like Sea Lab 2021, The Brack Show, like stuff like that are originals that I would have liked to have watched. It's nice that Aqua Teen Hunger Force is on there, you know, and be able to watch that. But it just feels like I don't know why in the DC section I got Steel, but I don't have Batman the Animated Series. You know, but then the positive.
Because who the fuck wants Steel?
Yeah, I want to watch Shaq act.
First of all, that's a DC movie. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Yes. But then the flip side to that is that I was, I'm really excited that Studio Ghibli's on there. Those are beautiful movies. They're Japanese anime feature films.
Is
They're
that in that what the fuck is it called? The what was it? The popcorn or cracker porn or
Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll. Thank you. Is that
So-
section?
No, it's its own thing. So they make feature films as opposed to like half-hour anime cartoons
Okay.
like that. So basically, My Neighbor Totoro is really, really popular. Spirited Away, Kiki's Delivery Service. These are all like very popular Academy Award-winning caliber movies.
Okay.
They're beautiful. They're fantastic. They're getting their own theme park in Japan, which is a fun side note. And they're all on there, and they're really fun. They're really good movies, and I'm really glad to see that. There is a Crunchyroll section, and it's tough because
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I thought it was one of those like YouTube series, like I don't even know what the fuck I'm gonna try to reference, but I
Yeah.
thought it was a YouTube series. Like on Hulu, you have like the guy who eats the food or the hot ones.
Hot ones, yeah.
Hot
So
ones, yeah.
Crunchyroll
It's not.
and Funimation, they're two different basically Netflix services for anime.
Okay.
And I don't know where the division is. I'm not that much of an anime nerd that way. And there's some stuff I saw on there that I was like, oh, I like that show. I wanted to watch that show. So there's stuff to watch there. But the big one for me is TCM. I didn't know TCM was going to be there. I didn't realize that was on the table.
Yeah.
And
So the positive. So my first part of this was very negative because of the accessibility, obviously.
right.
Then a few days later, I'm sitting there and I literally just went to the movie section, hit A to Z, and started scrolling through. Let's see what they have.
Right.
The content is really good when you start digging into and seeing what they have.
Right.
I had no idea. TCM, first of all, yes. Didn't know that was on the table, and awesome that it is. And more importantly, almost all the Criterion Collection is in this,
Yes. And that's through TCM.
and they're actual Criterion Collection movies. They're not just movies that the Criterion
Yes.
Collection had. They start with the Criterion C. It's like literally the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they have all the Godzilla movies, all the Charlie Chaplin movies, a shit ton of samurai movies that I never knew existed. Before
Yep.
we went on the air, we talked about that Hanzo movie that is just bonkers.
Yeah.
And there's like 5 of them. Hanzo the Razor. There's 3 actually. But just like a whole bunch of really cool, deep cuts mixed in with the Harry Potters and the police academies of the world.
Yeah, of course.
But they have all of them. You know what I mean? It's like this is I'm a police academy fan. I'll say it.
Of
But
course.
you know, they have all of them. And then on top of it, all the HBO stuff, which you knew already. Like that was the easy stuff. It's like, oh yeah, they're gonna have the HBO stuff. Of course they are.
Yeah.
as far as missing content, and I was a little surprised, but when I did a little digging on Google, the explanations kind of make sense, is because HBO owns Cinemax, and Cinemax has done a bunch of really good original shows that aren't included. And after reading, apparently they've shut down production of any original shows on Cinemax. It sounds like they're phasing Cinemax out as a brand and as a division of the company.
Right.
And my guess, and it was kind of alluded to in one of the blog posts I read, is basically they're probably going to introduce the Cinemax originals when Cinemax finally closes down as like one lump section. They probably didn't want to do it up front because there is a Max Originals section already on HBO Max for the original content exclusive to HBO Max, and there would be confusion.
Yeah, there'd be confusion. They also, if you started including original Cinemax series, I believe that the movie licenses are different between HBO. So, like, some movies are available on Cinemax and some movies are available on HBO. So now if all of a sudden I'm allowed to, I have Cinemax over here, but it's not a part of agreement to be on HBO, contracts.
Correct, but it's a little different because while the name of the streaming service is HBO Max, technically it's a Time Warner streaming service. It's not It's not HBO's streaming service. They're just using the name and recognition. So while you wouldn't have the Cinemax stuff ported over to HBO Now, which is HBO's streaming service, you could put it on HBO Max because it's a Time Warner thing. By the way, the multitude of HBO streaming services is a whole other issue that I don't care how many YouTube videos they fucking release. I'm not going to really understand it.
Yeah, it's go. Like,
the simplest way to break it down is if you subscribe to HBO through your regular cable service, you have access to HBO Go. HBO Go is the streaming service from that cable. HBO Now is if you're a cord cutter and you don't have regular cable.
You want HBO.
But you want HBO, that's how you get HBO. HBO Max is basically like the Netflix and almost makes HBO Now obsolete.
Right.
But because 100% of the HBO Now subscribers haven't upgraded, even though it's the same exact price, they haven't upgraded, they're not going to get rid of HBO Now for the time being.
Yeah, I give it 6 months.
Basically.
6 months, and they'll give the announcement, hey, you got to move over.
Yeah. So ultimately,
also, side note, WWE announced this week that they're going to add a free tier of the WWE
it's already a thing.
Network. It's already a thing?
Oh, it's already a thing, and I'm a little upset about it.
Oh, why?
Well, as a subscriber that pays $9.99 a month and has since day one.
Yep.
I've had a major problem, especially with the WWE YouTube channel.
Okay.
Because they give away a lot of shit I pay for free.
Yeah.
And now there's a free section, a free version of it that gives away a lot of shit that I pay for already.
Right.
Like of course it's not the full library of stuff, but it's a good chunk of the stuff I already watch. Like there's a bunch of the documentaries I watch. There's Raw and SmackDown and NXT, which it's like I pay for that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But I always had a problem. In particular, it started with their YouTube channel because, of course, they're sharing their shit all over the place. They're licensing their shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Because, of course, money. So for someone who pays for it every month, it was one of those things like why? Like I've asked myself many times with WWE Network, just on the basis of what they give away for free, why am I paying for this?
Yeah. Well, I ultimately decided that it wasn't worth it anymore. And so it was replaced with HBO Max. And so far, that's the best idea that I've had. Because probably I didn't know all the Godzilla movies were going to be on. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know that was going to be the case. So, once
all the Jaws, including the Revenge.
Oh, yeah, I know, huh? But like that, it might be that the next film series that I do might be the Godzilla movies, because that could be pretty fun. It depends on how many there are, but
it's actually not a whole lot. I mean, I'm guessing this isn't the whole collection. My other problem is I'm guessing some of them aren't. Godzilla isn't the first word. So I'm just sorting by G. And
Yeah.
the ones that start with Godzilla are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 old ones, and then Godzilla King of Monsters, which I think came out like a year or two ago.
Yeah, because I know Mega Godzilla or Mecha Godzilla is one of them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So they're kind of scattered about, but I think there's a way to also sort by that as well.
Yeah, I wonder.
But it's like the Chaplin films. Like I just, while I was in the G's looking at Godzilla, I scrolled down, The Great Dictator was right there. It's a Chaplin film. But they have all of the Chaplin films because they were all part of the Criterion Collection. Same with Godzilla. Criterion released a massive Godzilla thing that's like not only massive as a library, it's like a coffee table book. The fucking thing that like you can't sort it with your DVDs.
Yeah, right.
As a DVD collector, it's kind of infuriating, but really cool at the same time. Yeah. So now that we're about 45 minutes in, talk about Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, let's talk about Beverly Hills.
So Beverly Hills Cop was released in the United States December 5th, 1984. It had a budget of $13 million. It brought back $316.4 million at the box office. It went on to be the first of 7 in a row Eddie Murphy-led movies that were opened at number 1 at the box office. It was written by Daniel Petrie Jr. It was directed by Martin Brest. It was produced by Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer. And it starred Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, John Astin, Ronny Cox, and a host of other familiar faces that pop in and out of it. Right off the bat, I just want to run down Eddie Murphy's run here because he went on you look at his IMDb.
Right.
And it's kind of mesmerizing how much he has. Let me see acting credits. He has 61 acting credits. And the first half of those are fucking monsters.
Yeah.
Like his first film was 48 Hours. So he's coming right out of the gate with a hit. Moves on to Trading Places. Okay. Best Defense was an unseen movie. Him and Dudley Moore were in it. Then he jumps into Beverly Hills Cop same year. Okay. The Golden Child, but it has its fans and it made money. Beverly Hills Cop 2. Coming to America. Harlem Nights, which was his directing. He wrote and directed it. I'm a fan. It didn't do well. Another 48 Hours. Boomerang. The Distinguished Gentleman. Again, some have, some could be like one of those. They're not huge blockbusters, but they made money and they were good movies. And then they start to really. This is where he started to kind of get hit and miss. Right. Because he did. Next was Beverly Hills Cop 3, which I did watch with this run of Beverly Hills Cop that we're doing today. And for the first 15 minutes, I'm like, you know what? I think this is maybe an underrated movie. Then they got into it. I'm like, no, this movie sucks. Vampire in Brooklyn, I liked. It was Wes Craven directed. Eddie Murphy did a horror movie. I liked it, but it doesn't have a lot of fans. Nutty Professor was a monster hit.
Yes, it was.
Metro wasn't good. Then he did Mulan.
Yep.
And when he did Mulan and got the check for Mulan, I think he really pumped the brakes. Because only 2 movies after that that I'm a fan of were Bowfinger, which I absolutely love Bowfinger. I don't know if you've seen it with Steve Martin.
Yes.
Okay. Love that movie. Nutty Professor 2, again, was a blockbuster. And again, like I said, he was cashing the Mulan check, and then he did Shrek and didn't really have to work. So all of his choices were in the realm of Shrek. Like everything after the first Shrek is kind of Shrekky. I mean, there's movies like Dreamgirls is in there, Tower Heist was in there.
Yeah, but he doesn't really do. Yeah, he does
just cashing checks.
Yeah, he's just doing things that are gonna, make money, go for the kids. Because it's not. I don't feel like he does anything until Dolomite Is My Name that is really,
So
acting.
He did. So Dolomite Is My Name came out last year. Got award buzz. He was nominated. I think he won Golden Globe, maybe, or he won something. Maybe it was a SAG award or something like that. But I really enjoyed it. I thought he did a phenomenal job, and it was one of those things. It was a return to quote unquote R-rated Eddie Murphy that we all know and love.
Right.
And then of course it's announced that Coming to America 2 has filmed. and is coming out. It's supposed to be next year. Well, it's supposed to come out this year, but probably gonna be next year at some point. And then there's announcements and quote-unquote pre-production work listed for Triplets and Beverly Hills Cop 4. Now, Beverly Hills Cop 4 has been announced before.
Yeah.
And it almost was a TV series. It was a pilot shot, and his son, Axel Foley's son, picked up the mantle, and Eddie was in the pilot episode that never got picked up.
Okay.
Triplets has been announced before.
Yes.
And Danny DeVito has talked about it in interviews before, and it's the sequel to Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, with the triplet being Eddie Murphy. And it's been talked about almost since Twins came out. Like they had this plan to move Eddie into this role and work with him. So he's had, I mean, even his misses are glaring.
Yeah. Well, because it's
with his successes.
A movie that we're definitely going to have to do on this show is like The Adventures of Pluto Nash. You know,
it was one of the options for when we did Battlefield Earth, when we did for our 1-year anniversary. We did the biggest bombs in film history, and that was a pile of shit.
Yeah, right. You know?
Like I said, his misses are very obvious.
Yeah,
But,
I think he is, and wrestling fans will get this. He's like Randy Orton, where like when he's trying and on his game, he's fantastic. He's one of the best. He's one of the best to ever do it. But when he's not trying and not engaged, it's tough and painful to watch because it's like watching somebody just sleepwalk through something. And I feel like Eddie Murphy as an actor is very similar to that, where it's like, The Nutty Professor and The Nutty Professor 2 were both good movies. The first one's definitely better than the second one, but
sure.
They're both watchable movies. And then it's just like, and it's because he tried. And then all of a sudden Norbit comes out and it's just like,
I had so much hope for that. I really had, I remember seeing the trailer, reading about Norbit, and it was like, and he's doing like the Nutty Professor thing where he's playing like 8 roles and he's wearing the fat suit and him and Charlie Murphy wrote the script. And then it comes out and it's like, it's just a PG version of the Clumps. It's terrible.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. It's just like, he just went for the money and he sleptwalked through it. He knew that this movie's going to make enough, The
funny thing about him, and I read a Rolling Stone interview with him when he was supposed to host the Oscars. It was right after he did Tower Heist with Brett Ratner, and Brett Ratner was producing the Oscars, and Eddie was supposed to host. And Brett Ratner got fired because of gay slurs he said on Twitter or something like that. It was definitely a gay slur scandal. Right. And Eddie just kind of stuck with him and was like, all right, well, you're firing him, you're firing me. And I think they went hostless. I think it was one of the first years they went hostless, or maybe it was the Ellen year. I forget. It was around that time. But anyway, read an article with him because it was being billed as Eddie's comeback. And something that resonated with me was because when he disappeared, for lack of a better term, people very much like, he's an introvert, he's weird. And he actually brought that up in the interview, and he's like, I've worked my ass off my entire life to build this home and my family and stuff, and I just like sitting at home watching TV with my kids. And I remember reading that being like, fuck, I get it.
Yeah.
He deserves to sit at home if he wants to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He owes us nothing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He could have done half the movies he did that were hits, and he'd be fine with his career. Like I said, the first 3 years of his career, he could have just rested on his laurels at that point. But also, he's got 10 kids.
Does he?
He's definitely got 9 or 10.
Wow.
He might have more. So he's got a shitload of kids. And like I said, he enjoys spending time at home, according to this interview that I read with him. That was ultimately why he went down the family friendly, the animated route, was because he wanted stuff for his kids, because his kids were being born around the time he did Mulan, and he took the Disney paycheck, and then he's jumped right into Shrek. Like Mulan was 98 and Shrek was 2001, so it's like he went one back to the other. And the only R-rated movie he did in that time period was a movie he did with Martin Lawrence called Life.
That was really good.
It was a good movie. It was a solid movie, and he was doing what he was doing Eddie Murphy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you said,
Right.
he seemed like he was trying. He wasn't sleepwalking through it. It wasn't a Meet Dave or a
Shrek 4.
Shrek 4. Oh, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when he's trying, he is the best.
Right.
Literally the best. And his track record prove it. His IMDb proves it. Okay, so that being said, kissing Eddie Murphy's ass aside,
Yes.
let's jump into Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah. This movie was fun. I haven't seen this movie in a long time. This movie is a very easy watch. As far as action movies go, we've seen some stuff like Commando during this action movie quarantine.
Yeah.
And, that's serious and everybody's angry and grr. And, why I bring that up because they use the same mansion in the climax of this movie.
Ew.
But
some of the same shots.
Right. There's just something about this movie that is quintessential 80s in the fun way. Like Commando is quintessential 80s action in the like muscle testosterone way. And this is in the like complete opposite end where the soundtrack is iconic. He's fun. Judge Reinhold is in it. It's just delightful.
So, to bring up quintessential muscle-bound 80s movies, do you know the history of Beverly Hills Cop?
No, I do not know the history of Beverly Hills Cop.
Right. Beverly Hills Cop was written and was going into production with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, okay.
And the character's name in the original script was Axel Foley, and Stallone went in and started doing rewrites. And the first thing he did was change the name. He's like, all right, we're changing the name to Axel Cobretti. And basically, he wrote Cobra.
Oh, okay.
And then when they were like, after they got all of Sly's rewrites, the movie went from 13 million to 30 million.
Yeah.
And the studio was like, we can't do it. And he's like, well, if you don't do this, I'm not doing the movie. And they're like, well, we can't. So Eddie was just coming off, like I said, Trading Places, and he was, Saturday Night Live he was a monster on Saturday Night Live. And they're like, all right, well, we can't do it with you. But he had to deal with Paramount or something like that, and blah, 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 blah. So basically, he took all of his rewrites and went and made Cobra.
Okay.
Literally. Like, all of that became Cobra, and they were just like, all right, well, let's go back to the original script, and here you go. Will Eddie Murphy do it? And Eddie Murphy did it, and he came in, and again, instead of doing rewrites, there was just a lot of, improvising and ad-libbing.
Yeah, because this movie is light, you know what I mean? There's a lot of levity to everything that he does, and I appreciate that about this movie.
It's something we needed right now.
Yeah, it's light, it's levy. Again, also, I don't know why he doesn't do things anymore. Probably because it's not the 80s. But Judge Reinhold, man, you bring a boyish charm to everything you do, and it's just real fun. There's a sense of wonderment there that's just like, man, I could watch you bumble through anything.
Again, Judge Reinhold has to thank his friend Amy Heckerling for this, because Martin Brest was a friend with her, and he's like, they were just talking, and he's like, I got this movie. I need this like young, straight-laced cop to play off of this older, grizzled veteran. And she goes, oh, well, I just did Fast Times with this guy, and he's perfect for it.
Yeah, right.
My name is Judge.
Yeah. He's great. The bits are fun. The fact that, he brings the cops to the strip club.
Yep.
And then forts a robbery. And
Yep.
who robs a strip club?
It was the 80s. They needed some tits in there.
Yeah, right. Who robs a strip club?
Look, we got the R rating. Let's go for it, man.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Of course. And then, Axel comes up to the commissioner being like, this is all of the like nonsense that happened, and they can't lie to him because they have moral code or something.
Yeah. The Super Cop story was as expected, completely improvised.
Right.
To the point that if you go back and watch it, John Aston, who's playing Taggart, is literally, you can see his tongue in his cheek because he's biting on his tongue. Judge Reinhold has said in interviews that his hands were in his pockets because he was pinching his legs to try to keep himself. They were both just sitting there trying to keep themselves from laughing so
Right.
much because they had to be in the same shot as him. It's not like they could look away or do one of these types of things.
Yeah, right.
But apparently that just went on the entire time. The strip club scene as well. Same thing. It's just like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of takes were wasted.
Of course, and they're shooting on real film.
Real film.
That's expensive.
So the movie starts off with one of the most iconic openings to a movie, the cigarette truck scene.
Yeah.
Was that where we got the heat is on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Eddie's a undercover Detroit detective, and he's trying to do a sting operation. Apparently he's a maverick. Of course he is.
Of course he is. It's the 80s.
Of course he is. He's a maverick cop, a rogue cop.
Yeah, renegade.
He's playing by his own rules. So yeah, and in a great exchange, again, just the dialogue, the lines just are firing off on all cylinders. And one of the biggest destruction chase scenes, we talked about it in Mad Max, real trucks hitting real cars and real shit getting really broke. There wasn't CGI back then.
Yeah, they're just destroying a bunch of cars. Oh.
And they roll through, and that's when we were revealed that Axel Foley is actually a detective. We head over to the police station where we get our first appearance of Inspector Todd, who was played by Gilbert Hill, who actually was the president of the Detroit City Council and a former homicide detective in Detroit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Inspector Todd, who is your stereotypical shouty police chief in the 80s.
Oh, yeah. Yep. He's just mad at him. Like he didn't know what he was doing,
I forget if it was the first movie or the second movie, but a line that I will never not laugh at is, "Don't think, Axel, it makes my dick itch."
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing. The second movie was awesome. Like, this is literally, for argument's sake, Beverly Hills Cop, for 80s action cop movies, is like The Godfather.
Right.
The first two are awesome. You can watch the first two back to back a million times and never get old. Third one, you really chew through that shit.
Yeah, it's tough.
It has its qualities, it has its good points, but overall the third one's crap.
Yeah, right. And so then basically, his basically the police chief is, mad at him because, like, that's the problem that I have with like renegade cop stuff is like, so if you're that mad at him that, which nothing of his, like, none of that was his fault. You know what I mean? Like,
well, he wasn't supposed to be there. Like, literally,
right.
he was like, he goes, "Where the hell did you get a truckload of cigarettes?" And he's like, "Oh, the Dearborn hijacking." And he's like, "That was supposed to be destroyed 2 weeks ago."
Yeah. Whatever.
I needed it for this $2,000 sting I was pulling.
Yeah, right. Because I just needed to sting these two guys. But yeah, when he's heading home, he meets his friend Mikey.
It was James Russo, I believe.
I believe so.
He was in Django more recently. Yeah, James Russo, Mikey Tandino.
Yeah, he was working in, he's working as a security guard for some art dealer or something like that. And he basically like shows up and shows Axel that he's got bonds.
German bearer bonds, yeah.
Yeah, he's got German bearer bonds. And he's like, how the hell did you get them?
Which I believe is the same thing that they were stealing in Die Hard.
Yes.
They looked very similar. I'm not 100%.
I believe so. I think it's the same thing as like C4. You know what I mean? Where it's just
it was European currency that was a lot of money.
Right. It was like
in Lethal Weapon. These are gold Krugerrands. Well, I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like it's just
it could be worth a nickel, but you know what? Cool.
Yeah, it's international money. So that's what it is.
Diplomatic community.
Yeah.
That's what we gotta do.
Revoked.
We should do fucking Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, probably.
All right. But yeah, so him and Mikey, clearly old friends. Clearly Mikey's a petty criminal.
Yeah.
Just from the quick back and forth story, And Axel, who was not an angel growing up, we learned through stories, they talk about, oh, remember that time you stole that car and drove, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys reminiscing at the pool hall, all right,
Yeah,
cool. They get back to the apartment drunk, and Axel gets a bop on the head, and Mikey gets a bullet in the back of the head. Wow,
Yeah.
We are off to a fun start.
Yeah, right. Dude gets murdered because he's got those bear bonds.
This fun-loving, jovial movie just got turned into an execution. Jonathan Banks actually playing one of the bad guys. Most people know him from Breaking Bad and not My Name is Saul. Better Call Saul these days.
Right.
So now we have our story. Now we
Right.
have our purpose to get Axel Foley from Detroit to Beverly Hills.
Right. Because he needs to go on vacation because Inspector Todd won't let him do it. He's like, no, you can't investigate this. And so he goes on vacation and immediately starts getting into trouble. He immediately goes from he goes to the hotel, and we'll see what ends up happening. Or we'll talk about it at the end of the movie. But what was his plan staying at that hotel?
Upon rewatching, I asked myself the same thing. What was his end game with this? Because he shows up to the hotel, and he wants to bullshit his way into it.
Yeah.
Okay. He walks up to the desk. Here's the woman saying that, I'm sorry, we're all booked up. We have no more rooms available. Cool. Bing. I'm quick-witted. All right. The nerve of these people. I have a reservation under Axel Foley. I'm sorry, we don't have that reservation. Then he starts going down and, yelling, screaming. I got he said he was from Rolling Stone magazine. He's got an interview with Michael Jackson.
Right.
Fun fact, what he said was he was going to name the article Michael Jackson Sitting on Top of the World. Playboy magazine actually did an article called Eddie Murphy Sitting on Top of the World the year before.
That's funny.
So
that's pretty good.
A little bit of reference. Yells, screams, cool.
Yeah.
80s. And gets a room. He gets a suite at a regular room price, which was $250, which in the 80s was a lot of money. Still is for most people.
Yeah, right.
But yes, I thought the same thing because he couldn't pay the $250 a night per night, and he's ordering massive amounts of room service to the room.
Right. What was the plan?
Like how are you gonna get? Are you just gonna ditch?
Yeah, because you used your real name. Like, how
he didn't leave a credit card because, again, the 80s. You didn't have to do stuff like that.
Yeah, so maybe he was just gonna book it for an extra night than he needed, and he was just gonna leave.
Also, was it just open ended? Do hotels just do open ended stays? I don't think I don't think a place like that hotel would do an open. But again, it's what we do. We add logic to these silly situations.
Right.
Anyway, he gets his suite.
Right. And so he heads off to what's his name? The art dealer. Because he's got to go head off to the art dealer because he wants to question the guy. The guy was the person that Mikey worked for, and so he's going to question him first.
Victor Maitland.
Yeah, Victor Maitland. And
the mole on his forehead, you can't look away because he's so tan. He's like George Hamilton tan, and it's just this big fucking thing right on the middle of his forehead. I'm like, I could get a knife and slice that off,
just
dude.
Cut it off, rip it off. And so Axel starts questioning him after bullshitting his way through and up and into it, and immediately he hits a nerve when he starts asking about Mikey and is literally thrown out of the building.
Yes. 6 guys pick him up and throw him out the building.
And again, oh boy,
I get it's a movie, but who the fuck is going to replace that window?
Right. Like, why would you destroy your own window? Like
I don't know who loses in this situation. Bad guys being bad.
Bad guys being bad. And then in a situation that is very reminiscent of what is currently happening in the United States of America,
the black guy gets arrested for no reason.
Yeah, the Axel Foley gets arrested the entire time being like, I was thrown out the window.
Right.
Why? I was thrown out the window. Why am I being arrested?
Right.
And he's still arrested.
Because he's Axel Foley and he's carrying a gun.
Yeah.
Yes. That's all they needed.
Right.
So being Eddie Murphy, his charming self, he's chatting with the cops the whole ride over there.
Yeah.
Gets to jail. There's a pay phone. He orders a pizza. Somebody's got to fucking eat it.
Yeah, right. He ordered a pizza. The funny part is this is the nicest cop car I've ever been in.
Nicer than my apartment, which we'd seen, and it was.
It was. It was. And then again, it's weird because he doesn't say this in the basically when he gets to the Beverly Hills cops department. Mm-hmm. They're like, "Why didn't you tell us you were a cop? Why? At what point? That never crossed your mind? Why didn't you?"
Again, and it's one of those things that I don't think the movie had an answer for it, because you do, as a viewer, you ask yourself the same question: why wouldn't you just pull your badge out? Because in later movies, in a third one, when the FBI shows up in the opening scene, he does pull his badge out immediately, and it's like, I'm a Detroit police officer. So it's like, if you're in a different city and you're carrying a gun and the cops come up, the first thing you would do is be like, "Oh, same team, bro."
Yeah, same team.
same team. Can we go talk to those guys that just threw me out the window?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Maybe together.
Yeah, can we go?
But then the movie would be over. That's
right. Yeah, because then the movie would be over.
I'm a police officer. Roll credits.
Yeah.
I'm a Beverly Hills cop.
Ching.
So anyway, we lay out that, why are you carrying your gun? He's like, well, I've never been on vacation, but blah 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 blah. The pleasantries of it all.
Yeah, right. And he's not supposed to be there. They warn him, don't be looking into this.
They call Inspector Todd. Inspector Todd says, well, he went on vacation, but if he's looking into that fucking Tandino thing, don't come home.
Yeah, right. And so, he has a tail, Taggart and
Rosewood.
Billy. Yeah, Taggart and Rosewood.
Who through the whole fucking series of movies, nobody gets his name right.
Yeah.
Rosemont, Roseweed.
Yeah. And so they basically just got to tail him. They got to
because he's supposed to leave town.
Right. Well, he's supposed to leave town or be on vacation. It's one or the other.
Yes, exactly.
You just can't be looking into this case.
Right.
And so he orders them a bunch of room service, as you do. As you do. And sticks a banana in the tailpipe and loses them.
Again, I don't know enough about cars to say whether that would work, let alone 80s cars, but I don't think that would work. I want to hope that wouldn't work.
I've heard that, I've heard a banana in the tailpipe, but I don't know what that
actually... You heard of it because of the movie.
Right. I don't know how... I don't...
fall for a banana in the tailpipe?
I don't understand... again, I'm not a mechanic, so if somebody is, please, the Eddie McCabe, tell me. But it's just how does the engine stop working if I put a banana in the exhaust?
Yeah. It completely shut down the car. They couldn't even start it back up.
Yeah, the whole thing, the engine seized, it was just
sugar in the gas tank. I understand that.
Yeah.
Right. I understand the science of that, but I need somebody to explain the science of the banana. I'm sure the Mythbusters did it. There's 200 episodes I'm not going to pick through.
Oh, you know what? This is why we have YouTube.
All right.
We're gonna keep going, and I'm
just gonna keep pressing through. But at a certain point, we'll get the answer to the banana.
I'm gonna YouTube Google it.
So again, Eddie's on the case, and he's doing all of his detective work. Mostly, he's being driven around by his friend Jenny Summers, who also was friends with Mikey. She runs the art gallery that Victor Maitland owns.
Yeah, the weird art sculpture of everybody at the table and the head in the center was weird.
Yes, but apparently Jackie Stallone loves him. Don't think that wasn't thrown in on purpose.
Yeah, right.
Which was made by Serge, played by Bronson Pinchot, which I don't believe was doing Balky Bartokomous at this point. Was he doing Perfect Strangers yet? Bronson Pinchot? I'm pulling his IMDb up because it's a very similar accent. Let me see. He had done the only thing he had done was Risky Business, and then he did Beverly Hills Cop, and Perfect Strangers didn't show. Holy shit! For a while.
So I have an answer.
2 years later. Okay.
I have an answer.
The tailpipe.
Yeah, I don't know if it was proven or not, but I have the reasoning. The banana in the tailpipe blocks the engine's exhaust. Eventually, the engine is unable to get the exhaust out of the cylinders and replace it with fresh air and fuel, so the engine just stalls out. So basically,
Sped up the process.
yeah, so it was just, I would imagine it took longer than what he was going for, but that's the plan, is
So
that
technically the banana in the tailpipe would work.
Yeah, the banana in the tailpipe would work because it
All
wouldn't
right.
be able to exhaust the fumes of the expensed gas.
Myth busted, bitch.
Yeah, there you go.
So where are we?
So yeah,
I think we go to one of the warehouses at a certain point.
yeah.
And again,
coffee.
this whole movie is Axel pulling scams on people.
Yeah, because he like goes to a warehouse and he finds coffee beans and basically tries to pretend to be like an FDA agent or something,
Right.
like
Customs agent.
customs agent. And so that's where he figures out he basically figures out the scam there, that this guy is smuggling drugs and bearer bonds and all sorts of other nonsense. And basically he's getting these items from customs, or he's getting these items from the plane before they go through customs,
Right.
then putting them back so that when customs looks at it, it looks fine. And he packs everything in coffee beans so it throws off the scent of the dogs. And he basically figures it out. All the while, the police department of Beverly Hills is like, you need to stop, you.
Stop doing our jobs.
Yeah.
So we get the second team, or the first team as they're call themselves, that replace Taggart and Billy after the banana in a tailpipe incident. And they tail Axel to Victor Maitland's house, which is also the commando house. Yeah. Not sure which one was which. I think we looked this up in our commando episode, but it doesn't really matter which came first, the chicken or the egg. Yeah. But yeah, that's where we get the "you're not going to fall off at a banana in a tailpipe" line, which now everybody knows the banana in a tailpipe from that line.
Yeah.
But they last almost instantly.
No time.
They're done. No time.
Yeah.
We get Billy and Taggart back real quick because that's the team we want.
Yeah, one, that's the team we want. Two, they catch him, like they try to track him down, but they end up getting into a car accident because they can't catch him in his shitbox car. You know?
There's so many parts of this movie that it's like the lines just pop in your head randomly, and one of them always is I forget if he I think it was when he pulls up to the buffet.
Okay.
The brunch buffet, and
Yeah.
he pulls out front, and the valet takes his car, and he goes, "Yeah, make sure you put it in a good spot because all this shit happened to it last time I was here."
Yeah.
There's been a number of times I've pulled up to valets, and that is running through my head. I'm like, "Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it." Yeah, put it in a good spot.
Yeah, put it in a good spot because
all this shit happened
last time. It's so funny. Yeah, and so basically they're able to basically he goes and confronts Maitland at the country club. He tosses his bodyguard through a buffet.
Yeah. Again, great part where Victor kind of holds his hand up and Jonathan Banks just takes a pause as he's dripping in whipped cream and shit. And then he just goes, well, "That's very good, Victor. Next teach him to sit down and roll over."
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yes.
Oh God, it was so funny. It's very well done. Very, very well done. But yeah, he basically, which I forget what ends up happening after that one.
Well, we yada-yadaing a lot of this just because it's a lot. It's a lot of wash, rinse, repeat.
Right.
Not that it makes it any less of the movie is a 5-star movie in my opinion. But it's a lot of wash, rinse, repeat. It's a lot of Axel pulling a scheme, confronting Victor, getting arrested, repeat.
Yeah, right. And so
the
finally,
cops follow him. He loses the cops. He pulls a scheme. He confronts Victor. He gets arrested because he gets arrested at the buffet.
Yeah,
and that's where the chief comes in and yells at the other guy. Yells at Ronny Cox. "Is this the man who wrecked the buffet at the Harrah Club?"
Yeah,
and
that's
that
right.
whole scene. And then Ronny Cox gets chewed out. And that's when they're supposed to put him on a plane. And he's like, "All right, cool," and fucks off again. And
right. And so they end up grabbing Jenny. Then they're like, "Hey, you need to get us in."
Grab her.
Yeah, well, because the Axel and Billy go and pick her up because they're like, "Look, we just got to get into the warehouse. The only person that can get into the warehouse is Jenny.
Right.
And so if we get her, we'll get into the warehouse. And then they end up finding all the cocaine.
Yep.
Well, Maitland's already there. He steals Jenny, and now we got to go shoot out at the OK Corral.
Because the 80s.
Because the 80s. 80s
Cocaine.
It's a hell of a drug.
Cocaine and bullets. Oh, the 80s.
Yeah. And so, they basically go through and they shoot up the same mansion. That mansion can't catch a break. Arnold went through it and Axel went through it.
Again, watching it, not only is it visually the same mansion, but it's clearly, like I said in the Commando one, it's clearly action movie mansion on some backlot, because the squib hits, the bullet hits are all in the same friggin' spot.
Yeah,
I'm watching it, I'm like, that's the exact same pattern that they blew up in Beverly Hills Cop.
Right, and this is that plant, so that like clay plant, explodes the same way. And
it's amazing that Victor Maitland's goons and the South American Army's goons all had machine guns. That was convenient.
Yeah, it was really convenient.
So we could get that nice pattern of across the grass.
Yeah, of course. I do think it was really funny when Billy stands up and yells, "I'm a Los Angeles Police Department or Beverly Hills cop, and you should surrender," and they just shoot at him.
With his little 38.
Yeah.
Freeze! Nah, they have a bazooka.
Yeah. No. So basically, Axel takes down the bad guy. It's probably
he shoots
the most...
Victor right through that big mole in his forehead.
Yeah, it's probably the most anticlimactic of the, villains that we've, had during action movie quarantine. You know what I mean? Like, he just finds him in the hallway, and he just shoots him, Well,
it's also... It's kind of evident of this movie. The villain was very little importance.
Yeah.
Like I said, this movie was all about Axel doing Axel.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, he does a scheme, he confronts Victor, but Victor's in very little of it. Victor, the bad guy, is in very little of this movie.
Right.
What we want to see is Eddie getting in and out of situations.
Yeah, right.
That was like the conflict was more the police and Eddie instead of Victor and Eddie.
Yeah, right.
And it was more a comical conflict between the police, because Victor was very serious. Like,
he was too serious.
He confronts Victor and people are getting thrown into buffets. I mean, come on, the eggs never did anything to you.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Fuck, man, I was going to eat those waffles.
Yeah, goddamn. I just wanted the grapes. Oh, they looked so fresh. And so once the police actually show up and everything's good to go, we get a reframe of the, super cop story, where
only Ronny Cox tells it.
Yeah, Ronny Cox tells it.
The chief comes up, and Ronny Cox, I'm guessing, is captain. I'll just go in that order, I guess.
Yeah.
So he tells it to his boss, and he basically tells the lie that Axel told him earlier. It just reframes who's actually doing what. And basically makes a super cop story of Axel Foley, because he was supposed to be on a plane the day before back to Detroit. So why is this man still here? Put him in cuffs. And he's like, well, he actually thwarted the crime, and Billy did this, and Taggart did this, and blah, 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 blah. And
and he was undercover the whole time.
Yes, and we'll have your report in the morning.
Yeah, and then Taggart and Billy say that the Beverly Hills Police Department are picking up his hotel bill, and
do they
I don't know. That doesn't seem like a thing.
Again, the logic of this movie really isn't there.
Yeah, all over the place.
Because the hotel, okay, so yeah, we're checking out of, and again, he was going to check out of the hotel.
Yeah, right.
He literally comes down and goes, Axel Foley checking out of suite whatever number it was. Like, what was your end game here? You don't got two nickels to rub together. How are you going to pay for your massive fucking hotel bill? Now, in Fear and Loathing, he just got the fuck out of there. He went to the desert. Now, but what was the end game? You're checking out of the hotel. You're expecting them to give you a bill where you're just going to be like, run.
The only thing I could think of is that he was going to pawn it off on, which again, I don't know why you would use your real name. If Axel Foley is your real name.
On Rolling Stone? How do you bill that?
I don't know.
It's the 80s. Rolling Stone, we have their information. You're free to go. That's not how that works.
Look, you're right. You're right.
And then but again, once they say we're picking up the tab, he starts buying robes.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
also, how was the Beverly Hills Police Department picking up this tab? Do you have a corporate credit card?
Apparently, police just have expense accounts that they can play with whenever a cop comes in from out of town and wants to stay at the Beverly Hotel.
Yeah, jeez.
In the suite.
In the suite. That is the rate of a regular room.
Yes, exactly. Also, he drove that shitbox from Detroit to Los Angeles.
Yes, he did.
Talk about logic. That makes no sense. I'm worried about my car, which is in relatively good shape, making it to Florida.
Yeah, right.
Drove a much worse beater from Detroit to fucking Beverly Hills.
Yeah, I don't know.
At least in the sequel, he took a plane and rented a car.
Yeah, right, because that makes sense. That makes more sense anyway. But yeah, the 80s.
The 80s, that's how he got there. The magic of 80s and cocaine.
Yeah.
Oh, Don Simpson, we love you.
and then we freeze frame and we end.
Yeah, we roll credits on the superstar that is Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, very fun. Very
awesome
fun.
movie. Awesome movie. I mean, obviously, Beverly Hills Cop has become a classic, so I don't have to sit here and say I highly recommend it. You should, should already know this shit. But I would really, I can honestly say I love the second one as well. Beverly Hills Cop 2 was directed by Tony Scott, another action movie director. It's interesting. So let me see here. Martin Brest, who was a known director, I want to say he did Geely.
He did Geely. Okay.
That's not what I wanted to say. No. That was lesser down. He did Midnight Run. That was one of his earlier works. And then he, obviously did this. And Tony Scott came in and did the sequel, of course, big action movie, and the sequel works. It works phenomenally as a follow-up to Beverly Hills Cop. It's really good. The action's great, the comedy's great. It's a good next step. And then they gave John Landis the job of doing Beverly Hills Cop 3. And
dropped the ball.
Boy, does it not work. It's 10 years after the first one.
So exactly like Godfather.
Yeah, exactly. And is basically like it's a counterfeit money murder scam happening in a fictitious Disney world.
Okay.
It started out so strong. Like the first 15 minutes of Beverly Hills Cop 3 is like, all right, cool, we're back. And then it's like, wow, we took a fucking nosedive the second we get to Beverly Hills. It turned into slapstick. The whole thing. It was slapstick and references because they didn't get John Astin back, so they replaced him with Hector Alessandro. So his character was basically there to say, oh yeah, Taggart told me about you, and I know all of. And it's like, dude, we get it. You couldn't get the original actor back. You know what I mean? It's like, do we have to do this play catch up thing all the time? He actually did direct Geely. Holy shit. So, I'm sorry. So Martin Brest did Beverly Hills Cop. He did Midnight Run. He did Scent of a Woman. Meet Joe Black, and then Geely. That was where he kind of fell off a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
And he hasn't worked since. Did he die? I don't know if he died.
Did he die?
Did you die?
Well, his career did after Geely.
No, literally. That's the last thing he fucking did. And no, he's still alive. According to Wikipedia, anyway. Martin Brest is 68 years old.
Ooh, baby.
Living in New York, according to Wikipedia. The stalker's paradise. Anyway, that's Beverly Hills Cop.
That's Beverly Hills Cop.
All right. Coming up next week, John Woo's Broken Arrow. John Travolta on the back end of his Pulp Fiction run. Still bankable. John Woo coming to Hollywood.
Yeah, right before Face Off.
It was definitely in the same ballpark as I think it came out the year before.
Yes.
Because John Woo came to Hollywood, and his first movie was with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I want to say Hard Target.
Okay.
I actually remember seeing that in the theater. And the only reason I know that fresh in my mind is because I watched a documentary on Amazon Prime on action movies and shit like that.
Oh, cool.
It was actually pretty good. I was actually going to tweet the link out, and I just fucking forgot. But it's actually a good one. I don't have the name of it, but it was recently made because our buddy Michael Jai White was in there with a Outlaw Johnny Black poster behind him, so it's recently made.
Oh, cool.
Filmography. Let's see. John Woo. God, he made some great friggin' movies.
Yeah, Hard Boiled.
Better Tomorrow 2 is like the last 20 minutes of that is some of the best action you will ever find.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hard Boiled, The Killer, Bullet in the Head, Once a Thief. Like his Hong Kong action movies are fucking phenomenal. And then yeah, so he came 1993, year after he did Hard Boiled, he did Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme's mullet. And then 96, Broken Arrow, 97, Face Off, Mission Impossible 2 in 2000. Paycheck. I didn't know he did Paycheck with Ben Affleck. It's an okay. I'm not even gonna say underrated. It's a wildly okay movie. I watched it in the theater. It wasn't. Yeah. But then he hasn't really done much. He's done some movies, but nothing worth mentioning. Wind Talkers was like his last big one with Nicolas Cage. Is like a war movie.
No, yeah, with the Native American.
So that's interesting. So he did 2 with Travolta and then 2 with Nicolas Cage, both convening around Face Off.
Interesting.
Which you can find in the archives. It was our second episode.
It was.
Thatmovieshow.net. So that'll wrap us up with Beverly Hills Cop. We'll see you back next week for Broken Arrow. By all means, like the Facebook page, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. Follow myself and Eddie on social media at Mike Wendt, at the Eddie McCabe, #thatmovieshow. Plug Evenings with Eddie.
Yeah, so it's going to be a new show that's going to be coming out. It's going to be more of a late night talk show style format. So we're going to cover a wide range of topics, not just movies like this show does. You can find that on Spreaker and on all sorts of things. Just look up Evenings with Eddie. Also, go to the Eddie McCabe on YouTube. That's where the Disney film Princess film series is, and new episodes of that drop every Friday.
Cool. We will be getting a section of the thatmovieshow.net for that as well, where you can just link the YouTube channel right there. Basically for your former life, kind of like Late Night Leo.
Yes, for those of you who are familiar with the New Age Insiders and what that was, it's basically a rebranding of Late Night Liam, which was a show that I did with Bill Neville, who runs a very fun show, a couple of park hoppers with his girlfriend Danny down in Disney World.
I've been living vicariously through their live Facebook videos.
Yeah, of course.
They cannot wait to get down there.
They just dropped merch. Depending on when you watch this, they might be doing it through the weekend, so it might be over by now. But hey, just go check it out. They just started a new store, and so you can pick up a couple of Park Hoppers merch. I got a tank top because I love tank tops, and a means that we need to have merchandise at this point.
I was thinking the same damn thing when I saw theirs. I'm like, wow, they already have merch. We've been on this for over 2 years and don't have a single shirt.
Yeah, we don't got a
Despite
t-shirt,
we've
a mug.
talked about them. I think most of the time when we bring up the idea of shirts, it gets real offensive real quick. So
yeah, real quick. Real quick. They're funny.
Done, both of them came around the Incredibles episode. Right. One was the mother, and the shirt just said "great ass," and then the other one was the father being like handcuffed, and it was called Electric Jesus. Yeah, neither one was gonna get over well.
Yeah, no, none of those. We were gonna get cease and desisted from Disney. Real quick.
And other factions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The church wouldn't really like us too much either with the Electric Jesus. But anyway.
I don't think it likes us much anyway.
They don't really like us that much. We're potty mouths.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck them. And so we will see you next week for Broken Arrow. Thatmovieshow.net. Any other plugs? I think we're wrapping it up anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, cool. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
That's Hooey Valley, Hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a